The Galactic Assembly Hall was the largest building in the known universe. It could hold 10,000 beings from 100 different worlds. Tonight, only 47 delegates sat in the great circular chamber. The rest had already fled. Their worlds were gone. Ambassador Al of the people had not slept in 4 days. His gray skin hung loose on his thin frame. His large black eyes, usually calm and wise, now showed only fear. He sat at the central table and watched the holographic display floating above them all. Red dots moved across the star map. Each red dot was a warship. There were thousands of them. They moved slowly, steadily, like a disease spreading through healthy flesh. Behind them, where green dots once showed living worlds, there was only darkness. 17 more colonies went silent in the last rotation, said High Counselor. She was a being made of living crystal. Her body usually glowed with soft blue light. Now that light was dim and flickering. They do not take prisoners. They do not accept surrender. They simply consume. The chamber was silent. What could anyone say? The Dominion had existed for 10,000 years. They had conquered 3 galaxies. No species had ever stopped them. No fleet had ever defeated them. They came, they destroyed, they moved on. Our combined forces met them at Nexus Prime, said Admiral of the Military Council. His 4 arms hung limp at his sides. We had 800 warships, the finest vessels from 12 species, ships that took centuries to build. He paused, his voice cracked. The battle lasted 6 hours. We destroyed 11 ships. They destroyed all of ours. 800 ships, gone, 2 million soldiers dead. Al closed his eyes. He had known many of those soldiers, good beings, brave beings. Now they were dust floating in the void between stars. What options remain? Asked a small delegate from the Confederacy. His species looked like Earth insects, with shiny green shells and multiple eyes. Surely there must be something we can do. There is nothing, said. Her crystal body made a sound like breaking glass. It was the way of crying. We have sent diplomats, they killed them. We have offered tribute, they ignored it. We have tried to run, they are everywhere. She turned to face the assembly. My people have existed for 3 million years. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have survived disasters that killed entire star systems. But this is the end. They cannot be stopped. They cannot be reasoned with. They are simply too powerful. The delegates began to argue. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to keep fighting. Some wanted to scatter and hide and hope they would not find them. But everyone knew the truth. None of these plans would work. They had seen them all before. Al looked at the star map again. His was a small blue dot near the center. In 3 weeks, maybe 4, the red dots would reach it. His children lived there. Everyone he had ever loved. He was about to speak when the great doors of the chamber opened. Everyone turned to look. The doors were 30 feet tall and made of solid metal. They took 4 guards to open, but now they swung wide as if they weighed nothing at all. A human woman walked in. She was small compared to most of the beings in the room. She had brown hair tied back in a messy knot. She wore a flight suit covered in grease stains and burn marks. There was a smear of something dark across her cheek. She looked like she had just climbed out of a broken spaceship. Behind her came 3 more humans. A tall man with dark skin and tired eyes. A shorter man with thick arms and oil on his hands. A woman with red hair who was chewing something and looking around the room like she was bored. Sorry we are late, the first woman said. She grabbed an empty chair and sat down, leaning back with her boots on the table. Long flight. What did we miss? Al stared at her. He had met humans before. They were a young species, only 200 years into space travel. They were clever, yes, and surprisingly tough for such soft-looking creatures. But they were not warriors. They were not conquerors. They were children compared to the elder races. Commander, he said carefully, this is the Galactic Assembly. We are discussing the survival of civilization itself. Yeah, I figured. The woman called looked at the star map. The right, big ugly things, lots of teeth, like to blow stuff up. They have conquered 3 galaxies, said coldly. They have destroyed species that were ancient when your world was still covered in ice. Okay, nodded slowly. She did not seem impressed. So what is the plan? There is no plan, Admiral said. We have no ships. We have no weapons that can hurt them. We have nothing. Looked at her team. The tall man, whose name was Danny Vance, shrugged. The man with oil on his hands, Leo Martinez, was already looking at a small computer tablet. The red-haired woman, Price, blew a bubble with her gum. We heard about your problem on the way here, said. Picked up some of the comm traffic. Sounded pretty bad. It is the end of everything, Al said quietly. My world will fall in weeks, billions will die, and there is nothing anyone can do. Looked at him. For a moment her relaxed expression changed. Something hard and bright appeared in her eyes. Something that made Al, who had lived for 300 years and seen many strange things, feel suddenly uncertain. Here is the thing, Ambassador, she said. Humans have this saying. When something seems impossible, when everyone else has given up, when the smart move is to quit, that is when we get interested. She stood up and walked to the star map. She studied the red dots, the spreading darkness, the approaching doom. Then she smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was not arrogant or foolish. It was the smile of someone who had already started solving the problem in their head. You have been fighting the same way everyone else has, she said. Big fleets, set battles, playing by the rules. No wonder you lost. Those are the rules of war, said. They have existed for. Yeah, well, humans are not real good with rules. Turned to face the assembly. Here is what is going to happen. My people are going to take care of this. The chamber erupted. Delegates shouted. Some laughed bitterly. His crystal body flared with angry light. You cannot be serious, Al said. Humanity has perhaps 50 warships, they have thousands. Your species is barely out of its cradle. You cannot possibly. I said we will take care of it. His voice was calm but firm. I did not say it would be easy. I did not say it would be pretty, but we will handle it. She looked at Danny, Leo, and some unspoken message passed between them. They all nodded. Get your people ready, said to the assembly. Any ships you have left, any soldiers, any resources. We are going to need everything. But more than that, we are going to need you to trust us. Trust you, the voice was sharp. Trust children who have no idea what they face. Smiled again. That hard, bright look was back in her eyes. They have never lost because nobody ever had the guts to fight them properly. Nobody ever got creative. Nobody ever got mean. She cracked her knuckles. Well, Ambassador, you are about to see what humans do when someone threatens the people we care about. She turned and walked toward the door, her team following. Commander, Al called out, what makes you think you can succeed where everyone else has failed? Stopped, she looked back over her shoulder. Because we are too stupid to know when to quit. And because when a human says, I will take care of it, the war is already decided. The enemy just does not know it yet. Then she was gone. Al sat in the silent chamber for a long time. Around him, the other delegates whispered and worried. They did not believe. They thought the humans were fools. But something in his eyes had planted a tiny seed of hope in Al's ancient heart. Maybe, just maybe, these strange young creatures knew something the elder races had forgotten. The human carrier ship Relentless was nothing like a vessel. Al had toured many warships in his long life. They were always quiet, orderly places. Soldiers moved in perfect lines. Officers spoke in soft voices. Everything was clean and organized. The Relentless was chaos. Al stood on the bridge and watched humans run in every direction. They shouted at each other across the room. They argued loudly about things he did not understand. Someone had brought food to the bridge and was eating while working. Another person was playing music from a small device. In the corner, there was an animal with 4 legs and a wagging tail. It was some kind of earth creature called a dog. "This is madness," Al said to Captain Ben. "How does anything get done?" Ben was a large man with brown skin and a wide smile. He laughed at the question. "Yeah, it looks crazy from the outside, but watch." He pointed to a young woman across the bridge. Her name was Amy. She was small and thin, with dark hair and circles under her eyes. She was talking into 3 different communication devices at once while eating some kind of wrapped food. "She has been awake for 30 hours, Ben said. "In that time, she figured out how to make our shields 40% stronger." "Impressive. What new technology did she use?" "She took parts from the kitchen refrigerator." Al blinked. "From the food storage unit?" "Yep, some cooling coils and a power regulator. She said she saw the solution while getting a snack." Ben shrugged. "That is how humans work. We do not follow the normal path. We find our own way." Across the fleet, similar scenes played out. The elder races had always built their weapons and ships according to careful plans. They tested everything for years before using it. They followed rules that had existed for. Humans did none of these things. In the engineering bay of the cruiser Defiant, Chief Engineer Leo Martinez had gathered every human engineer in the fleet. There were maybe 200 of them. They stood around tables covered in parts, tools, and empty coffee cups. "Okay, here is the problem," Leo said. He held up a small device that showed a holographic image of a warship. "Their shields are the best in the galaxy. Nothing we have can get through them. Our weapons just bounce off." A young engineer named Jake raised his hand. "What about flying a ship straight into them? Skip the shields entirely." "Tried it. They have point defense systems that shoot down anything that gets close." "What if we make a weapon so small they cannot see it?" "Good thought, but their sensors can detect a grain of sand at 1,000 miles. The engineers argued and debated. They drew diagrams on walls. They built small models and broke them apart. They drank enormous amounts of coffee. A scientist named Al had been assigned to observe them. He watched in confusion as they worked. "This is not how weapon development works," he said. "You need computer models. You need testing facilities. You need at least 5 years of research before building anything." Leo grinned at him. "We do not have 5 years. We have maybe 5 days." "Then it is impossible." "Let me tell you something about humans," Leo said. He picked up a piece of metal and started bending it with his bare hands. "We are really good at impossible. Impossible is just a word that means nobody has done it yet." 6 hours later, they had 17 different weapon designs. Some used heat. Some used cold. Some used things that Al could not even name. By the end of the day, they had built working models of all 17. "These break the laws of physics," Al said, examining one of the new warheads. "This should not work. The energy requirements alone." "Does it work?" Leo asked. "According to my tests, yes, but..." "Then who cares about physics? Physics is just a suggestion." The alien scientist had no answer for that. Meanwhile, Commander was doing something different. She was not building weapons. She was not planning battles. She was reading. Her small office on the Relentless was filled with data screens. Each one showed information about their history, their culture, their religion, the way they thought and felt and dreamed. Price found her there after 12 hours. "What are you doing?" asked. "We need you in the war room." "I am studying the enemy." Did not look up from her screen. Everyone is so focused on their ships and their weapons. Nobody is thinking about who they are. They are monsters. They destroy everything. "Yes, but why? How? What drives them?" Finally turned to face her tactical officer. "They have conquered for 10,000 years. They have never lost. Not once. Do you understand what that means?" Shook her head. "It means they have never had to adapt. They have never had to think creatively. They have never faced something they could not beat with the same old methods." Smiled. "And here is the really interesting part. They do not even have a word for defeat in their language. So they literally cannot imagine losing. It is not possible in their minds. They have no backup plans because they have never needed backup plans. Started to understand. You are saying they are weak because they are strong. I am saying they have a blind spot, a big one. Every other species they have faced tried to beat them at their own game. Big fleet versus big fleet, power versus power, stood up and stretched. We are not going to do that. Then what are we going to do? We are going to fight like humans, dirty, unpredictable, creative. Eyes had that hard, bright look again. We are going to show them something they have never seen before. Over the next 2 days, the human fleet prepared. It was not like any military preparation the galaxy had ever witnessed. Pilots practiced crazy maneuvers that would kill most beings. They pushed their ships to the breaking point and then passed it. Engineers modified every system until the ships barely followed the original designs. Marines trained with weapons that had just been invented hours before. And through it all, humans talked. They joked. They laughed. They shared meals and stories and songs. They did not act like people preparing for death. They acted like people preparing for a challenge. Captain Ben watched his crew with pride. A young officer came running up to him with news. "Captain, the fleet is 3 days out. 1,000 warships confirmed." "How many do we have?" 200, sir, and about 50 more from the allied races." The math was terrible. 250 against 1,000. It should have been a death sentence. Ben just smiled. "Tell the crew to get some rest. Tomorrow we start the final preparations." "Sir," the young officer looked confused. "Are you not worried?" "Son, I have been a soldier for 20 years. I have learned one thing in all that time. When humans decide to win, we find a way. It does not matter how bad the odds are. It does not matter what stands in our way. We just win." He looked out the window at the stars. "They have never met anything like us. They think they know what is coming. They think this will be easy." He chuckled. "They have no idea what is about to hit them." 3 days. That was all the time they had. 3 days to prepare for the most important battle in galactic history. But humans had done impossible things in less time. In every corridor of the fleet, you could hear them saying the same thing. Different voices, different languages, but the same words. "We will take care of it." And somehow, against all logic and reason, the elder races were starting to believe them. The Dominion had a ritual. Before every conquest, before every battle, their supreme commander would speak to the doomed species. It was tradition. It was ceremony. It was meant to crush all hope before a single shot was fired. Supreme Commander sat on his command throne aboard the flagship Eternal Hunger. He was massive, even by standards. His scaled body was covered in scars from 100 battles. His 4 eyes glowed with cold yellow light. His claws had personally ended the lives of thousands. He had conquered worlds beyond counting. He had destroyed civilizations that thought themselves eternal. He had never known anything but victory. The human fleet appeared on his sensors like insects before a storm. "Supreme Commander," his tactical officer reported. "Enemy forces detected, approximately 250 vessels." Made a sound that was his species' version of laughter. It sounded like stones grinding together. 250 against our 1,000. He leaned forward. "What species dares to face us with such pitiful numbers?" "Sensors indicate mostly human vessels, Commander. A young species from a small world. They have only been in space for 200 years. "Children?" Contempt was obvious. "Very well, open a channel. Let me speak to these fools before we destroy them." The communication systems activated. His image would now appear on every ship in the enemy fleet. His voice would fill their corridors. His presence would remind them of their coming death. "Creatures of the Alliance," he began, his voice deep and terrible. "You have chosen to stand against the Dominion. This is foolish. This is pointless. This is the last mistake you will ever make." He paused for effect. He had given this speech many times. The words never changed because they never needed to change. They have existed for 10,000 years. We have conquered 3 galaxies. We have destroyed species that were ancient when your worlds were still cooling. No force has ever defeated us. No weapon has ever stopped us. No prayer has ever saved anyone from our hunger. On the bridge of the Relentless, Commander listened to the speech with her arms crossed. Around her, her crew continued working. Nobody seemed particularly impressed. "You face 1,000 warships," continued. "Each one has destroyed fleets larger than yours. Each one carries warriors who have never known defeat. You cannot win. You cannot run. You can only choose how you die." Danny Vance yawned. Leo Martinez was still fiddling with his tablet. Price blew another bubble with her gum. "Submit now," said, "and some of you may be allowed to serve the Dominion in labor camps. Resist and you will be erased. Your worlds will burn. Your names will be forgotten. It will be as if you never existed at all." The speech ended, sat back on his throne satisfied. Soon the begging would begin. Every species begged eventually. On the Relentless turned to Danny. "You want to take this one?" she asked. Danny grinned, happy to. He adjusted his headset, cleared his throat, and opened a channel. When he spoke, his voice was calm, almost bored. "Hey there, big guy, nice speech. Very dramatic. Loved the part about erasing us from existence. Really scary stuff." On the Eternal Hunger frowned. This was not the response he expected. "Here is the thing, though," Danny continued. "We are humans, and we have heard threats before. Bigger threats, scarier threats. Threats from people who actually had a chance of following through." He leaned back in his chair. "You have been conquering for 10,000 years. Good for you. We have been fighting wars since we lived in caves. We have been killing each other over resources, over beliefs, over pride, over nothing at all. We are really, really good at fighting." His eyes narrowed. "You dare to speak to me this way? I am the Supreme Commander of the Dominion. I have destroyed." Yeah, you have destroyed a lot of stuff. I heard. The thing is, you have destroyed species that followed rules, species that fought fair, species that gave up when they were losing." Danny's voice hardened. "We are not those species." He stood up and walked closer to the communication screen. "You have never fought humans before. You have never seen what we do when someone threatens our homes, our families, our friends. You think you know war. You know nothing." On the Eternal Hunger, something strange happened. For the first time in his very long life, felt uncertain. There was something in this human's voice, something he could not name. "We measure victory in seconds," Danny said. "While your empires plan for centuries, we plan for moments. While your species follow ancient strategies, we make up new ones on the spot. While your people follow rules, we break them." He smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "So here is my counteroffer. Turn around. Go home. Find some other galaxy to bully. Because if you come at us, we are not just going to beat you. We are going to teach the entire universe what happens when humans decide to handle something." Found his voice. "You are insects. You will be crushed beneath our—" "One more thing," Danny interrupted. "I know you do not have a word for defeat in your language. I know the concept does not exist for you. So let me teach you a new word. It is a human word. We use it when someone underestimates us." He paused. "The word is regret. You are about to learn what it means." The channel closed. On the Eternal Hunger, the bridge was silent. Officers exchanged uncertain glances. They had never heard anyone speak to their Supreme Commander that way. They had never seen him hesitate before giving an order. "Supreme Commander," the tactical officer asked carefully, "your orders?" Shook off his confusion. He was 10,000 years old. He had conquered galaxies. He would not be frightened by the words of an infant species. "Destroy them," he commanded. "Destroy them all." The fleet began to move. 1,000 warships arranged themselves in the ancient formation that had never failed. They advanced slowly, steadily, with the confidence of creatures who had never lost. On the Relentless watched them come. "All ships," she said into the fleet-wide channel. "This is Commander, the enemy is coming. They think this will be easy. They think we are weak." She looked at her crew, at Danny, who was already calculating firing solutions, at Leo, who was making last-minute adjustments to the engines, at who was tracking enemy movements with sharp eyes. "They are wrong." The human fleet began to spread out, not in any formation they had ever seen, not in any pattern that made military sense. The ships scattered like seeds in the wind, taking positions that seemed random but were anything but. "Remember your training," continued. "Remember what we are fighting for. Remember that somewhere behind us there are billions of people counting on us." The distance between the fleets grew smaller. The warships were massive, each one the size of a small moon. The human ships were tiny in comparison. It looked like a pack of wolves facing a single child. But the wolves had never met this particular child. "Today we show the galaxy what humans can do," said. "Today we prove that size does not matter, numbers do not matter, history does not matter." She gripped the arms of her command chair. "The only thing that matters is will, and nobody in any galaxy has more will than a human who has decided to win." They opened fire. The first shots streaked across the void, aimed at the fragile human vessels. The war had begun. And exactly as had promised, it was already decided. The just did not know it yet. The battle of system would be remembered for 1,000 years, not because of its size, not because of the forces involved. It would be remembered because it was impossible. They fought exactly as they always had. Their ships moved in perfect formation. Their weapons fired in coordinated waves. Their tactics were flawless, refined over 10,000 years of conquest. Every action followed patterns that had never failed. And none of it mattered. Commander did not fight fair. She did not fight according to any rules they understood. She fought like a human, dirty, creative, and completely unpredictable. When they advanced in their standard attack pattern, the human ships scattered like frightened birds. They adjusted, moving to chase them down. But then the human ships regrouped, appearing from 17 different directions at once. They struck, did damage, and vanished again before they could respond. "This is chaos," growled from his command throne. "They have no formation, no discipline, no logic." "Perhaps that is their strategy, Supreme Commander," his tactical officer said nervously. "Perhaps the chaos is intentional." "Chaos cannot defeat order. It is not possible." But as the hours passed, the impossible kept happening. On the human carrier, Relentless, stood at the center of the storm. Information flowed around her from a dozen sources. She processed it all, making decisions faster than any commander could imagine. "Danny, shift our flanking group to Sector 7. Leo, I need more power to the forward shields. What is the status of their command ship?" "Still in the center of their formation," reported. "Heavy escort, at least 50 ships protecting it." "Good, that is where we will hit them." "Commander, we cannot break through 50 ships." Smiled. "We do not need to break through. We just need to make them think we are trying." Across the battlefield, individual humans did what humans did best. They solved problems. They adapted. They refused to die. Pilot Amy found herself surrounded by 4 destroyers. Any normal pilot would have surrendered or been destroyed. Amy was not a normal pilot. "Okay," she said to herself. 4 against 1, not great odds." She looked at her instruments. Then she looked at the nearby star, a massive ball of fire that filled her. "Unless you change the rules." She pushed her engines to maximum and flew directly toward the star. The ships followed, confused but determined. They did not understand what she was doing. Amy dove into the outer edge of the star's corona. The temperature rose to levels that should have destroyed her ship instantly, but Leo Martinez had modified her shield 6 hours ago. They held, barely. The ships were not modified. They had never needed to be. Their shields were designed for conventional battle, not flying into stars. 3 of them exploded. The 4th pulled away, damaged and burning. Amy emerged from the corona on the other side, her ship smoking and her skin burned from the heat that leaked through. She was laughing. "That is 4 less we have to worry about," she reported. Similar stories played out across the battlefield. When Chief Engineer Leo Martinez's ship lost main power, any other crew would have drifted helplessly. Leo refused to accept that. He ran to the engine room and found the problem. The main power coupling was destroyed. "I need power," he shouted to his team. "Anything, anywhere." A young engineer named Tors pointed at the wall. "What about the coffee maker? It has its own power supply." "That is insane. You said we need power." Leo thought for exactly 2 seconds. Then he started pulling apart the coffee maker. 43 seconds later, the ship's weapons were back online. They were powered by a system that included parts from a coffee maker, 3 personal tablets, and someone's electric razor. "This breaks every rule of engineering," said. "Rules are for people who have time," Leo replied. "Fire." Their weapons struck a cruiser and crippled its engines. The most dramatic moment came aboard the destroyer Providence. A boarding party had breached the hull. 30 alien warriors, each one twice the size of a human, flooded into the corridors. Gunnery Sergeant Chris was waiting for them. "Contact Deck 7, a Marine shouted into her radio. "They are coming right at us." Chris checked his weapon. It was a new design, built just 2 days ago. Nobody was entirely sure it would work. "Good," he said. "I was getting bored." The expected terrified prey. They expected easy kills. They had boarded many ships in their long history, and the result was always the same. The defenders ran. The defenders died. The Marines of the Providence did not run. Chris led his squad into the smoke and fire. They moved like one organism, covering each other, advancing steadily. Their new weapons worked. Warriors fell. "You know what I love about you people?" Chris asked as he reloaded. "You think conquering makes you tough. You think winning makes you strong." He advanced through the carnage, stepping over fallen enemies. "You have never seen humans fight for something we care about. You have never seen us protect our own." Within an hour, every on the ship was dead. The Providence was under human control, and Chris was already asking for volunteers to board a vessel in return. Back on the Eternal Hunger, Supreme Commander watched his fleet fall apart. He had lost over 300 ships. His formations were broken. His warriors were dying. For the first time in 10,000 years, understood the feeling that had been growing in his chest since the battle began. It was fear. "This is not possible," he said. "They are children, they are insects. How are they doing this?" His tactical officer had no answer. The humans did not fight like any species they had ever encountered. They did not follow patterns. They did not obey rules. They simply refused to lose. And every time thought he had them beaten, they found a new way to survive. The battle raged for 6 hours, then 7, then 8. They kept fighting, but their confidence was gone. They had never faced an enemy that would not break. They had never fought beings who seemed to get stronger when everything was against them. Commander watched the battlefield and smiled. They were winning. It was costly and it was hard, but they were winning. But she knew the real test was still coming. They had they had shocked them, but they had not defeated them, was still alive. His flagship was still operational. As long as he commanded, they would keep fighting. The battle could still go either way. Looked at her exhausted crew. They had fought longer and harder than any of them had ever imagined. They had done the impossible. Now they needed to do it one more time. "All ships," she said into the fleet-wide channel. "This is Commander. I know you are tired. I know we have lost friends today. I know every part of you wants to rest." She stood. "But we are not done. They are broken, but they are not beaten. If we stop now, they will recover. They will come back. Everything we have sacrificed will mean nothing." She took a deep breath. "So we push. One more time we give everything we have, and we finish this." Across the fleet, humans heard her words. And despite their exhaustion, despite their wounds, despite the odds that still stood against them, they answered. "Yes, Commander, we will take care of it." 9 hours into the battle, Supreme Commander sat alone on his command throne. Around him, his officers worked in frightened silence. The bridge that had once echoed with confident voices now felt like a tomb. 347 ships lost, almost a third of his fleet. No enemy had ever done this. No species had ever made the bleed like this. And still the humans kept coming. "Supreme Commander," his tactical officer said quietly, "our formations are broken. Morale is collapsing. Some captains are requesting permission to retreat." Did not respond. He stared at the tactical display, watching the tiny human ships dance around his mighty warships like flames around ancient trees. "We should pull back," another officer suggested. "Regroup, return with a larger force." "No," his voice was barely a whisper. "We do not retreat. We have never retreated. If we run now, we become like all the others, weak, breakable, defeated." But even as he spoke the words, he wondered if defeat had already found them. On the Relentless, Commander was studying the enemy flagship. The Eternal Hunger sat at the center of the remaining formation, protected by 50 warships. It was the brain of the enemy fleet. As long as it survived, they would fight. "Can we reach it?" Danny asked. "Not with a direct assault," replied. "We do not have enough ships left to break through that escort." Nodded slowly. She had known this moment would come. The moment when everything depended on one decision, one gamble. "How long has been in command?" she asked. 10,000 years, according to our records." "And in that time, how many times has his flagship been threatened?" Checked her data. "Never, not once. He always stays in the safest position. He has never needed to worry about his own survival." "So he has never had to think about defense," smiled. "He has never had to protect himself. All his resources go into attack." Danny understood. "You think his shields are weak?" "I think he stopped caring about shields a long time ago. Why spend power on defense when nobody can touch you?" It was a guess, a hope, a gamble on which the fate of billions depended. But that was the human way. When all the careful plans failed, sometimes you had to trust your instincts. "All ships," said into the fleet-wide channel. "Listen up. I know you are tired. I know we have lost friends today. I know every instinct is telling you to stop, to rest, to accept what we have already achieved." She paused. "But I am asking for more. One final push. One last effort. We are going to end this. Right here, right now." Across the fleet, humans listened. Wounded, exhausted, running on nothing but determination. They should have been broken hours ago. Any other species would have surrendered. But humans were not any other species. "The enemy flagship is our target," continued. "We are going straight at it. No tricks, no games, just pure, stubborn human will. We are going to show these creatures what happens when you threaten the people we care about." She stood and gripped the arms of her command chair. "This is the moment, people. The moment we have been building toward. The moment when everything is decided." Her voice hardened. "When I say go, you give me everything. Every weapon, every ounce of speed, every last bit of fight left in your bodies. And when this is over, the whole galaxy will know what happens when humans say, 'I will take care of it.'" She took a deep breath. "Go." The human fleet surged forward. Every remaining ship, every fighter, every shuttle that could hold a weapon. They formed a spear of fire and steel aimed directly at the heart of the Dominion. Saw them coming. His officers screamed warnings. His escort ships moved to intercept. But it was too late. The humans were not fighting like an organized fleet anymore. They were fighting like something older, something more primal. They were fighting like wolves. Danny Vance targeted the escort ships, drawing them out of position. Price coordinated the attack, adjusting in real time as the situation changed. Leo Martinez pushed the engines past every limit, past every safety margin, into territory that should have torn the ship apart. "Shields failing," someone shouted. "Hold together," ordered, "just a little longer." The Relentless broke through the escort line. Behind it came 24 more human ships. They had taken terrible damage. They were burning, bleeding, dying. But they were still fighting. Watched them come and finally understood. He understood why these strange, soft, young creatures had done what no one else could. He understood why they had not broken when every logic said they should have. It was not their weapons. It was not their technology. It was not even their tactics. It was their hearts. They simply did not know how to give up. "All weapons," commanded. "Target the flagship, fire everything." The human ships opened fire. New weapons, improvised weapons, weapons that broke the laws of physics. They struck the eternal hunger from every angle. And the shields that had neglected for 10,000 years, the shields he had never needed to worry about, the shields that were supposed to be invincible. They failed. The eternal hunger shuddered. Explosions tore through its massive hull. Systems failed across the ship. On the bridge, officers were thrown from their stations. Stood in the chaos, his ancient body wounded, his pride shattered. He looked at and saw the Relentless directly in front of him. He saw Commander standing on its bridge. Their eyes met across the void. Opened a final channel. "You wanted to know what happens when humans say, 'I will take care of it.' Now you know." She gave the order. The final volley struck the eternal hunger at its core. The massive flagship, pride of the Dominion, symbol of 10,000 years of conquest, broke apart. Supreme Commander had just enough time to feel something no had ever felt before. He felt defeated. Then there was only fire. Across the battlefield, the remaining ships stopped fighting. They had never faced this situation. They had no protocols for it. Their leader was dead. Their fleet was shattered. Their ancient certainty was gone. They ran. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Dominion retreated from a battlefield. And on every human ship, on every allied vessel that had joined the fight, cheers erupted. Beings who had expected to die found themselves alive. Species that had accepted extinction now had a future. Sat down heavily in her command chair. She was exhausted. She was wounded. She had lost friends and comrades and ships. But they had won. Ambassador Al's voice came over the comm, shaking with emotion. "Commander, I do not have words. What you did, what your people did, it should not have been possible." Smiled tiredly. "That is kind of our specialty, Ambassador." In the years that followed, the story spread across every inhabited world. The tale of the young species that had faced an unstoppable enemy and simply refused to stop. The tale of humans who looked at impossible odds and said 4 simple words. "I will take care of it." A monument was built on. A simple statue of a human pilot standing at ease, hands in pockets, looking at the stars with quiet confidence. And on the base of that monument, in 100 different languages, they carved the truth that the galaxy had learned. When humans decide to handle something, the war is already decided, because nothing in the universe can stop a human who has made up their mind. The never returned. Their dominion collapsed without to lead it. Species they had enslaved rose up and claimed their freedom. And whenever anyone asked Commander how she had done it, how she had defeated an enemy that had seemed invincible, she would just shrug. "We are humans," she would say. "We do not know how to quit, and when someone threatens the people we care about." She would smile that familiar smile. "We take care of it." That was the lesson the galaxy learned. That was the truth written in fire and blood and stubborn human will. When a human says, "I will handle it," the battle is already won. The enemy just does not know it yet.